Today on Sports Center, we'll be going over our next schedule preview this 2020 offseason, and it will be over the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. And this was a team that went 2-10 in the 2019 season. Overall, pretty down year, but how would they do in 2020 is what we're going over here today. We're going to be going over a few players this team will be losing, who they're going to be returning, and also going over their schedule for the first time this offseason, starting off with the games that Rutgers has had since November. We start off on November 2nd when they played Illinois in Champaign. That was a loss there, 10-38. And then they also had another really tough loss against Ohio State at home, 21-56. But of course, Ohio State was really out of the ordinary last season. They were very much above many of the other teams that they played. They also played Michigan State. They got shut out there, 0-27, and then they lost to Penn State as the last game of the season, 6-27. So yeah, once again, really tough season for Rutgers, only getting 2 wins last season, and those 2 wins came between September and October. Between November and the rest of the season, they were 0-4. So yeah, their 2 wins did come in the earlier parts of the season during their non-conference games. But yeah, for Rutgers, obviously, I mean, last season they had a lot. They didn't really have a lot of talent at all. Of course, if you remember, in 2018, I believe they went 1-11. So really, for Rutgers, I mean, it's a pretty steep hill that they got to climb to get to a bowl game right now. Looking at the returning production for Rutgers, they returned their quarterbacks Langen and Sikowski, and of course both of these quarterbacks split time. Johnny Langen was in there for the majority of the season. He had 840 passing yards as well as 4 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. So yeah, his touchdown interception ratio was not very good at all, but he did have around 400 rush yards. He was actually the leading rusher, I believe, on this team. So yeah, certainly that was a big part, and he also had 3 touchdowns as far as rushing goes. Artur Sikowski, he had 429 yards of passing as well as 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. Then they also had McLean Carter, which he was, of course, he is their third passer from the past season. But of course, he was injured after a couple weeks. He was out for the rest of the season due to a concussion, and he is officially retired too. So McLean Carter will not be returning to Rutgers next season. He had 368 yards of passing as well as 2 touchdowns and 4 interceptions when he was playing with this team last season. They do return their top running back, Isaiah Pacheco. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but he had 800 rushing yards as well as 7 touchdowns. So yeah, he was a big impact for this team last season, and that's going to be really, really good for them to return him. The top wide receiver, Bo Melton, also returns. That's going to be a good return. He had right around 500 yards of offense as well as 2 touchdowns. And their second wide receiver, Raheem Blackshear, is transferring away. I believe he's going to Virginia Tech, if I'm correct. Yeah, he had right around 400 yards of offense as well as 2 touchdowns last season. So yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, they're losing a couple of quarterbacks, of course, and then Blackshear, of course, will be another tough loss. But really, returning their top running back in Isaiah is going to be big. And of course, Langen, I think he's got a ton of potential. Even though he had an absolutely terrible touchdown interception ratio last season, I think he's got potential, especially with that dual threat ability he's got. Of course, once again, he had right around 400 yards of rushing last season, and that's not all that bad at all. But yeah, they do return all their main other receivers, so that's really good. And they do lose 3 offensive linemen. That's going to be a big impact for this offense next season. 1 defensive lineman also gone, as well as 1 linebacker. They also lose 2 in the secondary. So this defense loses 4, which really that's not all that bad. Typically you'll see 4 to 5 players lost between the defenses, and of course for Rutgers, they're heading right around that average or so. Yeah, will there be improvement in 2020 for Rutgers? I believe there will be. I mean, once again with their quarterbacks, it'll be interesting to see who wins the starting job there. I think it'll be Johnny Langen. I think he's just got more experience in this situation, but will there be improvement is the real question. I think that there will be next season. Once again, I mean, I think this team has potential, and I think that they've got a good chance. I'm not talking bowl game by any chance next season. I think they're still a little bit of a ways from that, but I think Rutgers definitely has a chance to make at least a 3, 4, 5 win season. I don't think they'll be back to 1-11 like how they were a couple years ago. Now, moving on to your schedule, here's what you got. You start off the season on September 5th against Monmouth, and that's going to be a home game. You also are at home against Syracuse on September 12th, and then you got Temple on the road on September 19th. So looking at their non-conference schedule, you got to play an ACC opponent in Syracuse, and Temple really is not all that bad. So yeah, it's not going to be very easy for Rutgers. I think Monmouth, though, that should be a guaranteed win there. You also have Ohio State on September 26th. You got Illinois to kick off October, as well as Purdue and Indiana to follow. You got Nebraska on October 24th, Maryland on October 31st on the road. Then you got Michigan on the 14th of November, as well as Michigan State and Penn State to follow. So yeah, that November, even though you only got 3 games in there, it's going to be kind of tough. I mean, Michigan looks to be pretty good next season. I think Michigan State has a chance to improve. and be a bowl game team next season once again. And Penn State, I expect to be a big contender in the Big Ten East. So really for Rutgers, I mean, that November is going to be tough, but I think there are a couple possible wins in here. There's a couple of very winnable games, but I'm going to give you one guaranteed win right now for Rutgers. Once again, in a schedule preview, we only give you guys a couple of games. So we'll give you 1 or 2 projected wins and possibly a projected loss depending on how I expect the team to be. And in this case, I'm going to give Rutgers a win with Monmouth, and then Ohio State I'm going to say is a projected loss. I mean, that Ohio State team is looking really, really good next season as well. So yeah, this Big Ten East is going to be super competitive. I mean, Michigan, I thought Michigan, it was going to be their year this year. It didn't really turn out that way, but Ohio State and Penn State, definitely 2 teams to watch out for heading into 2020. But yeah, once again, I'm going to give you a guaranteed win as your first game of the season. Your record estimation for Rutgers will be 3-9 to 5-7. And I do expect, I mean, there's a very, very slight chance that they make a bowl game, but I don't quite expect it for next season. I think that they could come in the future, maybe 2 or 3 years, depending on how this team improves. Of course, they are a very young team right now. Let me remind you, a bunch of the key players on this team from last season are really, really young, and they still have a year after next season. So yeah, certainly for Rutgers, the sky's the limit in the future, but your record estimation is going to be 3-9 to 5-7. Let me know your thoughts on Rutgers in the comments below. Let me know whether you disagree on any of this. If you do, be sure to let me know. Thank you guys all for watching once again. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central, and I will see you all later.